Hi everybody, Beat here. This is a series about soloing on the synthesizer. I often get approached by keyboardists saying that they practice a lot, but they really don't know what to do to actually improve their soloing. Now, soloing in the synth is obviously a ballpark of its own, and it means that you need to dedicate a lot of time to it. However, I have a couple of things that I can offer you that probably will help to improve soloing on the synthesizer. So if you're not playing in the same league as Derek Sherinian, Jordan Rudess, Kevin Moore, or on the fusion side, Jay Oliver and Joe Savinel and the likes, then maybe some of my tips will help you on your way. Now in general, there are three aspects to that. And that is, first of all, technique. There are some similarities to sports when it comes to music. Of course, music is no competition. It's not about winning or who is faster, but nevertheless, there are some similarities. If you take a sport that requires skills, such as tennis or squash, you can have all the racket skills in the world. If you don't have your athletic base ready, that means your strength, your stamina, your mobility, then you won't be able to play a game that's enjoyable. I'm not talking about winning, I'm just talking about playing a game with somebody of equal level. If the two players have equal skills and one has a good athletic base and the other one has no athletic base at all, there won't be an enjoyable game. And that's a similarity to music. That means if you don't have your athletic base, and that's your technique, ready, so you can navigate through that territory the way you would like to, it's not going to be an enjoyable game. So practicing the technique is essential when it comes to soloing and improvising over chord changes. The second thing is knowing the territory that you're navigating through. And here I'm talking about music theory. Actually, I don't like to speak about theory and playing. For me, that's music. And the theory is just the map of the territory. So when you know the theoretical side of the music, that means you're familiar with the territory. You know that when you turn left at this next fork, you know where that takes you. And for improvising and soloing, this is actually rather important. So I'm a big advocate of saying music theory is not a monster, it just helps you to know to navigate through the territory. So I think knowing the territory is going to have a big impact on your soloing quality. And knowing the territory means, yes, scales and so on and so forth. I think maybe more important, and that's one tip that I would like to give you, is to find out what chord notes are common between the various chords in those chord changes. Mind you, this comes from a famous guy called Steve Lukather. This type of approach to playing made him famous. He would find out what's a common note between, let's say, a C major and a G minor chord. And then he would play those notes through the changes. And that's an important thing to figure out. What are the common notes? And not only the chord notes themselves, not only root, third, fifth, seventh, but also the tensions. What if I keep that ninth and then go to the next chord? What does that become? And that's always an all-over experience. So it's not only a theoretical thing, okay, the ninth of the C major becomes the fifth of the G minor, but it's also a listening experience. So that is important knowledge when it comes to soloing. And when I speak of soloing, I don't mean noodling through and just playing impressively fast patterns and stuff, but I mean really expressing yourself and playing with purpose and knowing where to go and how this is going to sound when you hit that next note. And finally, the most musical way to improve soloing is to actually transcribe and learn to play solos from other musicians. Now, I'm not necessarily referring to keyboardists. Of course, it's okay to go and transcribe from the great soloists like George Duke, Jan Hammer, Jay Oliver on the fusion side, or if you take Kevin Moore or Derek Sherinian, they are extremely musical soloists on the prog side. There's nothing wrong transcribing those and learning those. But what actually will improve your soloing capabilities significantly, and I learned this from Jay Oliver, one of the greatest keyboardists on this planet currently alive, is that you go and listen to other soloists and transcribe those solos. Typically, guitar is a very good one for keyboardists because of the bending of the notes. Other good instruments are saxophone. That can be difficult sometimes because some saxophonists play extremely fast, and then it becomes a technical challenge as well. The same can obviously occur with guitar players, so you have to be careful not to try and learn a guitar solo that's brutally fast and difficult to actually transcribe. So, as I said, if you're not playing in the same league as the Sherinians and the Rudises of this planet, then take it easy and take a solo that's not very difficult to play technically, but where the phrasing is impeccable, and start there and then take it from there and improve. As I said, saxophone's also good. Maybe don't start with the Michael Brecker solo. They are sometimes a bit difficult. Another thing that works for me also is to actually transcribe and learn double bass solos, because this is an instrument that cannot be played brutally fast. If you take very clear soloists such as Eddie Gomez, for example, or Chris Mendoki, that are extremely lyrical in their soloing, they play very clear lines. And because this is an instrument where you cannot really noodle like a saxophone, those lines are very clear and straight to the point and going through the changes nicely. And that's where you can learn a lot. And I do double bass solos as a practice for my left hand, for example, and that's very helpful. Another interesting instrument to learn from is the vibraphone, because a vibraphonist can play stuff when he plays two mallets in each hand that is very difficult on the piano or the synth. And you eventually have to figure out how to play this. A good one to transcribe on the vibraphone is Mike Mainieri from Steps Ahead. Another tip of mine that might be helpful is if you have a tool that can slow down the music that you play along with, that's obviously very good for transcribing, learning the phrases, and then practicing because you can play along at reduced speed. And here's a tip. If you manage to play a solo at 70% speed, but 100% is too fast, fine. You've learned a lot. By practicing this solo at 70%, this is gonna pay you back, I tell you. There is no need to play it at 100% if you can't. Of course, it would be great to just be able to play along with the normal track. But again, it's not about showing off on YouTube or anything. It's about improving your capabilities. And if you manage to play a Michael Brecker solo at 70%, that's a good achievement. And if 100% is too fast now, maybe 100% is going to work in a year's time. When you did your technical practice in the right way, maybe you can increase your speed. And if not, fine, no problem. So these are my introductional tips. Now what we're going to tackle is a guitar line that is based on a very simple chord change, and that is C major, G minor, A flat major, F minor. And that line we will analyze, learn to play, and then see what we do with it. But we'll do that in the next video. See you next time. Bye bye.